the Pro Wrestling Illustrated's top 500 wrestlers list has come out for 2025. They usually chart from August to August of a given year. So we have from August 1st, 2024 to August 1st, 2025, or July 31st, 2025, however you want to see that. Just for now, I thought it would be fun to kind of look at who the industry, or at least this magazine, kind of thought has been running kind of the industry right now this year. Kind of starting off the list at number 10 is Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay is probably, if not the best wrestler in the world right now. I personally believe that, just because even as a non-AEW fan, I've seen almost all of his matches kind of that were significant throughout his AEW run so far, just because it's been that attention grabbing. Also, I was someone who was watching Ospreay kind of when he was doing his stuff in New Japan as a junior heavyweight, transitioning up to a heavyweight, in those bouts with Okada during the G1, I want to say in like 2019. Ever since 2019, he kind of did transition into that heavyweight due to kind of Omega leaving that New Japan top Gaijin spot. So Ospreay kind of became that top star. For that time as well, he was already at a level, in my opinion, where he was putting on some of the best matches in the world. For him to come over to AEW and not only do the same thing, but mix it up with people like a Daniel Bryan, you know what I mean, and stuff like that to really get some new fresh matchups from Ospreay, especially when he's kind of tasseled with everybody around the world, is super awesome. I think his run from when he joined AEW to literally now has been flawless almost in terms of in-ring execution, and Ospreay once again proves every time he's in the ring why he's one of the best in the world. Number 9, we got Mystico. Mystico was Sin Cara in the WWE, for those who might not know. He still wrestles, I think, with the same kind of gear or similar gear that Sin Cara kind of wore, which was, I think, based off Mystico when he first was wrestling. He's not someone I have watched too much, unfortunately. I do not watch a lot of lucha. I have heard that Mystico has he's like one of the biggest stars in lucha, over there and stuff like that. And even before he came to WWE, he had a huge presence, and it was a huge deal when he was signing at the time. I want to say that there was a couple matches with some AEW talent that he's had that have been really good, but unfortunately he's not someone who was on my radar as much. But if he is in the wrestling world, in lucha world, kind of setting things on fire, good for Mystico for still maintaining that stardom and skill and power that he's had since even when Sin Cara was being brought up. So, number 8, we have Seth Rollins, which obviously it makes sense, cashing in on CM Punk, and one of the biggest angles of the year for one of the biggest shows of the year, constantly being, featured as basically the main event heel on WWE television on Monday Night Raw, forming the faction with Braun and Bronson, right, aligning himself with Heyman and getting the win over Reigns and Punk in the main event of Mania. Cements kind of his spot, and he's had a really solid year this year. I think 2024 was a really good year for Rollins, but this year I think cemented his heel legacy more than his overall wrestling legacy, because I do think he did have a really decent title run with the world title initially, I want to say in 2024. So for him to come back to it again in this super engaging angle makes perfect sense for him to be kind of on this top 10 list. And number 8 I think is a decent slot. Number 7, we have another man who makes me tune into AEW when I hear his name, Swerve Strickland. Whose house? Swerve's house. Same thing kind of with Ospreay. Swerve and his just in-ring just IQ is just off the charts, you know what I mean? And especially in the blood feud with him and Hangman, and his really fun title reign, which climaxed in one of the best, probably, big stadium main events of all time between him and Bryan Danielson, for that title. And in such a feel-good moment for Bryan Danielson, Swerve kind of being the perfect foil to that was excellent. And I think just that alone kind of deserves a spot on the list, for him kind of really being a focal point of AEW now. Number 6, we have Jey Uso, another WWE pick. This one might be controversial for a lot of people. I do think Jey would probably just be number 10 on this list off of the accolades alone, and I feel like his placement on the list is kind of due to that. Being number 6 to me is kind of high. I mean, I understand this was a year for Uso where he, you know, won the Rumble, right, and then went to WrestleMania and toppled what was possibly one of the most unstoppable heels, like, since maybe Lesnar's initial 2014 like comeback run or whatever. In that, the problem with Uso, I think, being so high on this list, and what probably is a problem for a lot of people, is that despite his popularity and his relevance and what he's doing in ring and promo wise, the delivery just seems to kind of be slacking, unfortunately. I don't think necessarily Jey Uso is an untalented person. He's extremely talented and he's extremely entertaining and fun, you know, but I do think the position that he did get and everything, unfortunately, it didn't even seem like WWE felt he was ready really for it, because even when he was world champion, he was still getting gas after entrances. The matches weren't really necessarily as compelling as they could be. I feel like Jey is a better tag wrestler than he is a singles wrestler, and unfortunately I still think Jimmy is kind of better on the mic and everything, and he just apparently just didn't say yeet. But Jey had his year, you know, and beyond that, that's awesome. The moment of him winning the Rumble, you know, the moment of him winning at WrestleMania and having his kid there, you know, to celebrate his world title win, you know, the disbelief his son had that he was winning the Rumble out of probably what was the most star-studded Rumble in years, right? It's definitely awesome stuff, and Jey does deserve a significant spot in the PWI for his contributions and the work he's put in to have such a crazy year, you know. It's like, also, I can't deny that he's probably been working a lot more than other top talent, because he's constantly on Raw every week and constantly wrestling, so I got to give him those props as well, and that's most likely also the reason why he's here at number six over someone like Seth Rollins, is because the significance of this first run for him will cement his legacy forever, right, as a single star. Number 5, we have Hiroki Goto, our first New Japan pick, and I think the only one in the top 10 this year, which is pretty rare. I think more just because of the maybe lack of prominent big star power that was at New Japan, that kind of flocked over to AEW, but that's a different story. Hiroki Goto finally was able to capture the IWGP title. Now, it wasn't the version 4 title that was retired. It's the world title that exists now, but still, despite that new lineage, it's still that symbolic top flag bearing position that Hiroki Goto has always wanted in Japan, and the fans have always wanted to see, and it always felt like something that would never happen, just because of the level of talent that he would have to go against: the Tanahashis, the Okadas, your Naitos, you know, Nakamura back right now. I think, especially with kind of the era that New Japan is in and trying to find new stars, Hiroki Goto is kind of a perfect North Star to really give that chance, you know, to tell that story. You know, I want my kids to see me win this title. I've put so much work in here, you know, that it should come to fruition. So similar to like a Kofi Mania, we kind of did get Hiroki Goto holding the title and winning the title off of Zack Sabre Jr. for a little bit, which was really fun. I think number 5 is a bit crazy, maybe like a top 20, just because I do feel like ZSJ, for example, should be on this list. His matches with like Ricochet, matches here with Hiroki Goto and others have been fantastic. He's kind of been holding down New Japan and being that top gaijin star for them in an era where they just need real stars, and it's been kind of bad booking wise for them in that sense. Now, number 4, we have Hangman Adam Page, essentially the flag bearer, the main character of AEW right now. Look, like I said, I wasn't completely tuned in week to week with the Death Rider storyline and that, but that finish and that match at All In was amazing. I've never seen in wrestling history people like cheering at the sight of a man being killed, basically. You know, he was hanging in or choking out Moxley, right? Everyone was loving it. Just Hangman's trajectory as you know, just kind of typical cowboy shit or whatever, and that initial run with the title to then just hand it over to CM Punk, for him to now be kind of the flag bearer and standard of AEW, and his character has grown so much since that point. He had the feuds with Swerve, he's had feuds with Mox, at you know, Adam Cole, etc., and it's really given him more context and has given him a lot more spunk. You know, because a lot of these promos, even like there was one with MJF a couple months ago, essentially kind of talking about, you know, where they both were in their careers, and the fire that Adam has now compared to maybe 2019 or 2020 is intensely different. And it's also a confidence that he has as well, where, you know, you see how he carries himself in that, and it just radiates top star. Hangman Adam Page had such a great year, was able to capture back the AEW World Title and basically their version of a WrestleMania. So makes total sense that he would be number 4, our current AEW World Champion, Hangman Adam Page. Now number 3, so number 3 we have Gunther, which I'm glad Gunther is on the list. Gunther, to me, I am very impartial to him, you know, but like, look, man, he's already a 2-time world champion within this year. You know, Gunther is, in my opinion, the prototype wrestler. He would fit in literally any era. He would be chopping it up with Bruiser Brody, you know, Abdullah the Butcher. He'd be chopping it up in the Attitude Era as a monster Austrian heel. He'd be chopping it up in the mid-2000s as Ruthless Aggression. He'd be chopping it up, you know, 2010s, and he's chopping it up right now because Gunther is that dude. His promos, everything, you know, his in-ring work, his presence, how he carries himself, everything about Gunther screams top star. And his year this year, even though I'd still latch on to the peak of the IC title reign, he has 2 world title reigns, right? And in that, he's defeated Goldberg, he's defeated Damian Priest a couple of times, I think. You know, I think there could be more prolific defenses, obviously, going into it, but on paper, Gunther has had an amazing year and a breakout year, you know, for how long he's been in the WWE, which is not that long at all. Number 2, we have Jon Moxley, who was the big heel champion kind of for the majority of this year, kind of with the Death Riders faction. I do think it's because of the prominence of the faction and everything that gets him this spot, you know, because to a lot of people's dismay, a lot of the finishes, especially in my opinion, that I've seen, and for a lot of people that were watching week to week, the Death Rider storyline really didn't start picking up momentum till the latter half of it, you know what I mean? And once they started mobilizing who was going to oppose them. In general, while I don't think the run was amazing, the finish to it was, you know, and it kind of delivered on all those highs, and is kind of currently why AEW is kind of on a really great run right now, post the results of Moxley losing the belt to Hangman, right? But to have that moment, you do have to build up a heel champion that everyone wants to see lose the belt, which Jon Moxley was. So that number 2 spot is rightfully deserved, being that top heel of the one of the top companies in the US. And now number 1, you guys probably know who this is, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, obviously, current WWE champion. He's had a crazy year where he basically held the title for the majority of the year. WrestleMania main evented this year and last year, you know. He beat I want to say Gunther at Crown Jewel to be the champion of champions. Had that thing on this ring, that big ass ugly ring. And then, I mean, also, like, Cody Rhodes is still one of the top, like, talents ever. He can spin any promo. I'm also forgetting the John Cena match, both the heel version and then the SummerSlam match, which was probably one of the best WWE matches of all time, like, straight up. And the passing of the torch from John Cena, considered, in my opinion, the wrestler, the top number 1 wrestler ever, has passed the torch down to Cody Rhodes. How do you not put that person number 1 in the PWI? They are being ordained by the system to be like, hey buddy, this is your rocket, all right? So now you gotta pilot it. And with that responsibility, which Cody Rhodes has been entrusted to for the past couple of years now, he has consistently been at the top of that card, consistently delivered main event level matches, and consistently been kind of the top wrestler in the industry. You know, this is the same man who helped found the rival company, you know, and for him to have this much relevance, a year-long title reign, going over all the top stars practically, who else could really claim to be number one besides Cody Rhodes? Let me know what you guys kind of think about the this wrestlers list, and if you guys feel that, you know, it's just, you know, maybe there's some names that might have been left out for you guys that you think would be way more interesting. I am pretty satisfied with this list. I can't really think of anyone that comes to mind that would replace anyone here on the top 10, really, you know. So I do think that these 10 wrestlers kind of do reflect the year that's been had in wrestling, you know. So let me know what you guys kind of think about the PWI, if the stuff even matters in the first place, you know, if people's opinions of wrestlers really means that much, you know what I mean? You know, I think at the end of the day, it's just a fun kind of romp and a fun kind of discussion to have about our favorites and what can be done better or worse, you know. So let me know what you guys think about everything, and take care.